Our Earth has not evolved yet. We have not evolved as a species yet. We only use a small percentage of our brain. Because we use a small percentage of our brain, around 14%, let's say, because they dissected Einstein's brain and he used about 17, 18, very intelligent man. That's about how far our Earth has evolved, about 14%. Now, I know some of you think, well, I thought we had a finished product here. No, the periodic chart shows some missing elements. Where are they? They're not here yet. We can't find them. Are they here? No. Theoretical. Take a television set, and you know all the minds that created the television set. Make them present, and put this thing back, let's say, 1,000,000 years. Have the generators, have everything there is to make this television work, the transmission towers and such. Will it work back then? No. Why? First of all, the minds that created it are not there, unless they go back. Second of all, the Earth is even more immature than it is now, and it's not ready yet. Now, people coming here from other places, and they arrive here, are they going to stay here? No. They can't stay here. Their machinery or their craft is not meant to stay here. And that's why you never find one. Somebody shows you a piece of a ship? Well, maybe. My dad had pieces of ships. Where are they now? Gone. That's all I can say, is gone. And that's what he said. Now, this ship, the principal, the little EVs inside with the headsets, and everyone says, how does it work? There's no engines. There's no nothing. How does this thing propel itself through the atmosphere? First of all, it's a time machine. It does not need to propel itself through the atmosphere, but this is aerodynamic. Why? Because when you project your mind and you do the remote viewing, which is the guidance system within this craft, and you project yourself, let's say, to the south pole of the moon, and this is your landing site, and the remote viewer is in there, the little EB with the headset on, and he remotes view his landing site on the moon. First of all, the speed is irrelevant because it's the speed of mind. Mind is over matter. And you have to be able to send a representation of yourself there if you want to be on the moon. You may mentally remote view it, but you want to do more than that. You want to bring back pieces. You want to do your scientific studies or so like that. So how do you get there? Okay, here's the way you get there. This craft is not unlike a watermelon seed. Imagine a wet watermelon seed, holding it in your hand and squeezing the back end of it. What's it going to do? Pop forward, right? Field density device. Remember that word. Field density device. The craft that come here, have you ever wondered when you see a UFO, my goodness, it's the right size. It's not 2 inches big, but yet and it's not 5 miles long. It fits our environment. It fits our density. The density of this Earth, the frequency of this Earth is known. If you go to another system, now I'm not saying planet, I'm not talking about classical A, B to this, from here to the star Antares. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking if you want to go to Antares, you are going to time travel. The way you time travel is with density. This ship moves through the air with different density. This is a density device in the front of this ship. This ship here matches the density for the system it's going to move into or the place it's going to move into. This density here is less when it's moving through the atmosphere than the density back here. So if you lower the density here, increase the density here, you're going to move forward for propulsion. But that's not the purpose of the ship. Now we're going to get into the skin. In Dad's report, it has 6 layers of skin. Now, I say skin. We call skin on an aircraft skin. We call it composites. The composites of matrix, which I work with every day, is 2 different types. We have a chemical blend, which we add an MEK to a resin, and it forms a chemical bond, which we call resin. Very much the same stuff that you see in the top where pennies are under tables. There's also another type which we call epoxy. Epoxy is a molecular blend. The The molecules actually incorporate and lock into themselves as they're hardening or as they're curing. Many different ways to cure it. We use machineries like autoclave. We use vacuum bagging. We have a proper ratio of composite material, epoxy, to the cloth. There's different types of cloth, as you've heard of carbon, you've heard of E-glass, there's S-glass, there's different weaves, there's triax, there's biax. So it's a science that was laid out by a very good friend of mine, Burt Rutan. Burt Rutan is the modern inventor of these planes here, as you see the Canard airplanes. He has 318 designs. He has the only database in the world for this type of composite material. Now, composite material. My dad used to make jokes when he would see me build these airplanes, and he'd come in and there's a wheel well up under here that the landing gear folds into. He says, that's where the anti-gravity device goes. And I said, Dad, what do you mean anti-gravity device? He says, oh, the B-2 bomber, they won't let you near the wings on the B-2 bomber because we developed anti-gravity devices for all of the leading edge of the wing. I happened to meet, by accident, the ex-project officer, Colonel Carwell, walked into the hangar one day with Kennedy Jr.'s, he was his financial assistant, and they hired Carwell, that had just retired from the Air Force, as their private pilot to teach them flying. He flew me out to see to meet Burt Rutan. This was a CIA agent, which I suspected at the time. As we flew out to meet Burt Rutan, he says to me, don't give these notes to Burt Rutan, your father's notes, he's going to want them. So when we went into the building, Burt Rutan actually almost went berserk. I mean, he was motioning to me, he'd get up to go to the men's room and he'd motion to me, and I figured, what is he after? He finally gets me out in the hallway, slams the door, locks Marty in there, runs around the building, gets in another room, says, come here, Phil, pull right up in his face. He says, you know, Marty's a CIA agent. I said, yeah, I know that. He said, what the hell are you bringing him out here for? Anyway, that's another story. Let's get back to the craft. The craft is laced. First of all, it's living. The biology between composites, which is oil, and the living oil is only a couple molecule changes. So if we wanted to build a clone ship, it was possible years back. Is it being done? Absolutely. My father directed every bit of this technology into the direction that it should go. Now, you want to know why we send rockets to the moon and such? It's a rouge. It's for you people. It gives you something to think about, something to do, something to work on. Does the military need these rocket vehicles? Absolutely not. Von Braun and them went in another direction at that time. The rouge continued because the military still needed rockets for their war efforts. They're doing it again to you. Don't fall for it. Yeah, don't fall for it. It's not needed. This is what's needed in civilian life. And if you support me, I'll build it for you. Again. Now, if this ship is not built soon, within the next 30 years, and it's not sent back again, all is lost. We live in an altered timeline now because of the technology. Remember that, altered timeline. The other timelines are not pleasant. They're negative. Russia won. Nazi Germany won. You wouldn't like it. So let's get this done. Now, you say, again, here we go. This is the part that's hard to understand. We think inside the box. Our society has told us to think within the box. You get up in the morning, you go to your job, you do what you have to, because most of us are slaves unless we're wealthy. We can't afford to think out of the box. The only way we can is to become wealthy and remove yourself from the box. Saw a wonderful thing on television the other day. Little boy was sitting there watching his dad throw popcorn up in the air, catching it in his mouth. The little 3-year-old watches his dad, picks up some, throws it up in the air, realizes he can't catch it in his mouth, runs over on the floor, bends over, and picks it up with his mouth. Well, Let me tell you something. He's going to be president someday. He was thinking outside of the box, and he did exactly what his dad did. It suspended for a moment on the floor before it went in his mouth. Brilliant. Let's get to the craft.